Oh, well, hello, all my wonderful, beautiful broskies and broskies of the Dark Shadow Maverick Nation. I am the Dark Shadow Maverick, and this is part two of Gallemytale. Excuse me. Yes, Gallemytale, part two. Basically, last time we left off with this little story of ours. Mm, Gallamy was looking up ahead to the little small town of Mellowwood. It really did not seem to have really all that many people in it. A very quiet small town, and since it was in the middle of winter, it was chilly. So, if anyone was out and about, it was because they were going to go either back into their houses or they were going out to, to go to a tavern or some sort of motel slash hotel area, somewhere where there was heating. Because they sure as hell weren't staying out here, not unless they were the poor folk. Which, to Gallamy, he was actually kind of sad about that. The fact that there were actually poor folk here. This place seems to have really hit an economic slump. And across from him, you could see why. A certain someone in a real fancy suit. Fancy schmancy looking suit. This person kind of reminded Galmy of a certain pony back in where they used to live. Called himself Filthy Rich. Rich. Filthy rich. Is what she's remembered him saying. Or, as Galloway would have to remind themselves, he, because of the gender switch due to the experiments. The eighth experiment, especially. Galloway would have to get used to being male. Something that they weren't exactly sure if they were ever going to be able to be getting used to. However, I wasn't going to stop them from going up to this fellow and engaging in conversation. Trying to, you know, get the scoop on everything. Hello there. Huh? Huh? You. Who are you? I haven't seen you around here, and I come around every few weeks. Was it 3 or 4 weeks I come around? Make sure this place is still standing. Yeah, it's not like it's gonna matter. It's gonna be a mess of train tracks in a few in a few months. All we have to do is get what needs to be got. So anybody who doesn't want to end up dead better get to moving before we start construction. That's what I've been trying to tell people. But some are being more stubborn than others. Gallamy, whenever he heard this, people being forced out of their homes, being forced, hell being forced out of the entire town, because they wanted to build a freaking railroad over it. This guy, whoever he is, Gallamy already didn't like him. Gallamy continued thinking onto themselves. This guy is gonna pay. But before they can make that happen, they're still freezing. Even with a hoodie on, the cold still gets to them. This place really is freezing, dead cold. How deep into the winter were they? How exactly did they think construction was going to work in the middle of the winter? Either this guy was plain stupid, or there's something different going on that he isn't telling them about. People that live here. And so Gallamy, just decided to hang out at a tavern. I mean, last time Gallamy checked, didn't really remember how many years it was that they had lived with Dr. Knight and Spy Sands. How many years it had been they had gone without a birthday. If they were actually, you know, legally able to drink, if they had a license. An identification? Well, Gallamy would close their eyes and think of something in their hand, and whenever they opened them, it would be there. Identification. Gallamy Sands. And so, whenever the owner of the tavern would look to see if it was legit, indeed, it would be legit. And so Gallamy Sands, as long as they paid, would be allowed to be able to drink away. Now, why would Gallamy go drinking at the tavern after hearing this news about what was going to happen to these people? Well, it's very simple. Depressing news got Gallamy depressed, and whenever Gallamy got depressed, usually, they would want something to help them calm their nerves down so that they didn't blow something up, like with a gaster blaster or a bijudama. You know, they didn't want to blow this entire place into oblivion, so I just thought going to the local tavern, you know, making a license out of nowhere and using that license to, well, also they could basically, since they could make anything, they could make how much ever money they wanted to make so that they could drink for however long they wanted to drink. And if you're wondering, well, however many years it was, would they still, if they were still considered a kid, don't kids not usually like the taste of alcohol? Well, that's the whole thing. The concept of time. Well, considering how long it would take to iron out each and every set of powers, like chakra, freaking, like chakra, freaking, uh, chakra, ki, freaking quirks, freaking Dragon Slayer magic, God Slayer magic, Mamoto magic, all sorts of different shit. How long it would take to iron each and every power set out. So yeah, it would be a couple freaking years. Plus, Screwball isn't really that young at the end of Daughter of Discord. She isn't really that young. She's around her teenage years, so just a few years of training, she would be around that age frame, time frame. So, I mean, especially considering all of the different kinds of powers, to master, considering what exactly Dr. Knight was looking for, especially that, especially if you take that into consideration. Like, Gallamy is going to be, you would think if you calculate all that up, would pretty sure be old enough to drink. But hey, whenever you have the power to basically create your own identification for, being able to drink, and, you put in your actual age, seeing as Galamy's however old Galamy is, because of how long, Screwball's been alive, and the whole, Dr. Knight thing, and, however old that they would be alive at that time, I'm pretty sure they'd be old enough to drink. And drink they would. Now, if you're gonna ask me about hangovers, or like being blackout drunk, well, consider this. Regeneration. And I'm pretty sure with like any sort of healing factor power like regeneration, it it's either impossible or it's really difficult for you to get drunk. It's either impossible or really just really difficult for you to get drunk. So like the regular person, if they're a lightweight, would be like just one beer for them to get like blackout drunk if they're like a really lightweight. But considering freaking Screwball is like the princess of chaos, even before she went all this crazy experimental stuff, she was already the chaos princess person pony. So with that added in, you know, it's already like some pretty hard rock, like hard knock life. And so it's probably gonna be a while before, the hangover or the blackout drunkenness sets in. So yeah. It will just it would be a while. And the people at the tavern, they would have pretty fat stacks, is what I'm saying. I would have pretty damn fat stacks. And in fact, I think their stacks actually might have actually exploded by now, considering like just how like much of a anti lightweight Galmy would probably be if you factor everything in. From like point A to point B, like point like negative A to point positive Z. That's probably like instead of point A to point B, like point negative A to point positive Z. Like that's more of an accurate like interpretation of what would be going on. Like their stacks wouldn't just be fat, they'd be exploded by now. Like, just how much they would be freaking, like, Gallamy would just be like, and still be going on. Like, still be like, and the people at the tavern wouldn't be nearly as drunk, and they would just be like, chug, 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 go, 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 go. Because, Gallamy would just be known as, like, the boss of the tavern. Like, whenever it concerns, like, who's the most, like, biggest badass whenever it comes to drinking their freaking life away. And, eventually, Gallamy would, basically pay off for everything because eventually they would get, bored of drinking their life away. They would kind of get bored. It's nothing, it would be nothing really else than just the fact that they would be getting bored of drinking their life away. It would just be them getting bored of it. It would get boring. That's the only reason. Not because, it's dangerous for their health. No, because they would be bored. That's how freaking much of a brutal badass whenever it comes to like drinking their life away, Gallamy is. Because of how epically like super powered like every single last molecule of Gallamy's body is. Like to the freaking T. Like Mr. T. And so eventually Gallamy would just be like, he would just escort himself out of the tavern. He'd be drunk as hell, but he would still escort himself. He would run into a couple different things, but, he would still have enough, stability in his legs to be able to walk himself. That is until he fell over, like tripping over a pebble. Like a deconstructed street. Like a guy would be like, hey, I'm working here. And, so it would just be like a pebble that would trip him up. And, it would just be like a walkway to someone's home would be there. And so someone would just look out their window and they would just be like, huh? And they would be like, oh, that can't be good. And they would just see the person, and the person, their face would be extremely deep in the snow. Because remember, it's during the winter whenever this is going on. All of this is happening. And, well, basically, this person would just be picking Gallamy up and taking Gallamy inside their house and, cleaning him off and, plopping him on, like, an extra bed that they have. And, well, they would just, like, take care of all of, like, the drip, all of the clothes, all of the socks, all of the shoes, all, like, the extra shit. And, they would just, wash everything. And, they would just be like, how come this seems to be the only pair of clothes they have to wear? And, well, basically, after cleaning everything, they would basically put everything back on them after they had also given them, like, a thorough clean. Getting a freaking, like, Kleenex wipe and wiping them down. Because they seem way too freaking drunk to wake up no matter what this person did. Like, even if it was like a pressure wash, like, shower, like, freaking head, like, just rain down upon them, you know. just like that. Even if that happened, they probably wouldn't wake up. So eventually, whenever like it's in the middle, like this person is asleep, and in the other bed, like the spare bed, is where the Gallamy is. So Gallamy just wakes up and, might I add, does not have a hangover, but does indeed realize their clothes have been moved. Yes, and the reason why they realize that is because what they are has been messed with. Yeah, basically, instead of actually putting the clothes on for them, because the person isn't gonna do that. That's a little bit much, don't you think? They just haphazardly put it over them, like not thinking that the person's going to panic, thinking that they're like dead or something because they can't see. I mean, don't wouldn't you think that would be kind of crazy? Waking up and you can't see jack shit, like thinking that you would like died. Like, I mean, you just don't do that. But then, like, Gallamy Sands would realize, wait, they're back into their like pony form, like Screwball, but they're definitely not in Ponyville. They're nowhere near where they're supposed to live. This looks nothing. And then they remember Mellowwood, and they remember everything about the whole construction and the scene in the tavern, and they also remember falling flat on their face after tripping over a pebble, and kind of being carried into someone's house. And then they think they remember this being the layout of the house, and basically, Screwball just connects everything. Oh my god, I'm like in this person's house, and then Screwball just like picks everything, like just gets everything back together, and like puts all the drip back on because the drip is just on top of them right now, and so she just puts all the drip back on where it's like supposed to be, and then she is basically back, into Gallamy Sands, and so Gallamy Sands is just like, what the and just blue souls this person out of their bed and is just like, the hell do you think you are doing that to me? And this person is just like, well, yeah, you did kind of look different whenever I did that. I wonder why. And Galley Sins is just like, if I didn't know better, I would hit you so hard right now. Who the hell are you? And the person, seeing as I don't remember the exact name of the person, unless this is their actual name, they just say, "Oh, my name is Yandere." And, well, Gallamy Sands are just like, "Yandere? Well, Yandere. Uh, I'm too pissed right now to actually think that was a possibility. That I was looking at my HP and it was decreasing rapidly. It seems the longer that I'm out of this form, I can go into that form, but whenever I go into it, I lose HP at a rapid rate. And if I go to 0, well, from what Dr. Knight has said, would not be good. Ugh. Well, Yandere. And Yandere is just like, yes, you, this place. How long have you been living here, and do you possibly know of a way of fixing the situation these people are living in? And Yandere is just like, oh, that. So you've also talked to him. The Don. And Gallemy's just like, the Don? You talked to the Don. The Don's trying to make friendly with the mayor so that the mayor will let him do what he wants to do with this place. The Don would very much so like to have the mayor's favor so that he could basically turn this place into his own personal playground. He only says part of the story to different types of people based on what he thinks that they will prefer hearing. And this, basically, whenever Gallemy Sands hears this, and from one of the people who live here, someone like a local who lives here, whenever he hears this from someone like that, and he's just like, so this Don person, uh, the Don, what is he like? Does he fight for actual any sort? Basically, what I'm trying to ask is, does he actually fight, or does he have people who fight for him? Just how much of a coward is he? And Yonder is just like, oh, I wouldn't be going around saying stuff like that out in the open. You haven't been doing anything like that, have you? And Galamy's like, does saying anything like that while you're blackout drunk count? And, and basically Yonder is just like, this is serious. Now, depending on what you say about the Don, you know, it could determine whether you end up dead or not. Excuse me. And then all of a sudden there's just a big 3 knocks on the door, and it's like, it's the dawn, and I'm coming in, whether you like it or not. And Yonder is just like, oh, it's time. Listen, the fee, I, I I'll get the money. I need time. An unexpected guest. It caught me off guard. I'll collect the money right away. And the Don is just like, you should already have it. Tisk, my little yandere. Just because you yourself have important ties to the mayor doesn't mean that I can't destroy you. And Galamy's just like, wait, you, you're the Don. And you've been telling different stories to different people to appeal to them. And basically, the Don is like, my little yandere, you've been snitching. And basically Yonder is like, and Gollum is just like, oh, you son of a, you know what I do to people like you? Huh, cowards like you. And basically the Don is just like, kill him now! Fill him with lead! And basically just blue souls all of their guns and just like, that won't be necessary. And he just like crunch and just turns it all into a big ball of freaking lead and just sends it right through all of them. Just like tears them apart. And then he just grabs the ball of lead and eats it. Nom nom nom. That's tasty. Now the Dawn is just like, I'll kill you. And Gallamy's just like, you idiot. I don't have time for idiots. Huh. Is it true that you've been wanting a favor from the mayor? You've been wanting the mayor's favor? And Adonis just like, what are you? Some sort of freakazoid? And Galamy is just like, oh, so you aren't good at answering? Well then, I guess that just proves it. Poison and dragon roar. He just shows off some fairy tale magic. A dragon slayer deal. And all of a sudden, like, the dawn just drops. Well, looks like he is done. Or at least you would think that. I surely do indeed like the fact that this floor isn't carpet. It would be terrible of me to have to make you clean blood out of carpet. It'll be much easier cleaning it off of hardwood floor. And Yonder is just like, what do you mean? And then all of a sudden, like, crunch. And then he just steps on Don's head. And blood just comes out of everywhere. And then just, Galamy just grabs the landline phone. And it's just like, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep. And just like, whoop. Yes, Mr. Mayor. Don't worry about the Don. He's relocated. Yes, I'm sure it's very sad, but some people just aren't up for the challenge. Anyways, goodbye. And Yonder is just like, you, you are something else. And Galamy's just like, and you just now realized? Oh boy. Hmm. You just now realized that? Oh, what a poor thing. And Yonder is just like, poor thing? And Gollum's just like, well, if you're just now realizing that about me, then yes, what a poor thing. But then again, I guess sometimes it just can't be helped. I mean, after all what you did to me, I might as well repay you. And Yonder is just like, okay, look, I didn't know. I never knew. And Gallamy's just like, tick tock, whatever. We can just gripe on all the time about this, or we can get over it. What say you and me? Now, what say you and me do the former instead of the latter? Oh wait, which one was the former? Which one was? Anyways, now let's just say you and me, we just get on with it. Get on over it. Besides, who else is gonna help you whenever it's honestly? It looks like you truly are indeed the one who needs the help, not me. And Yonder is just like, well, can't exactly disagree with him, but I don't want to make it look like like I can't take care of myself. And it's almost like he read her mind, but it's just like, yandere, yandere, yandere. He'll be fine. Besides, I guess it's normal for girls like you to be thinking things at this age. And she's just like, Nani? And, you know, Galamy would just be like, whatever. Whatever you say, princess. Whatever you say. And then Yandere could just hear some children playing outside, and they would just be like, Galamy and Yandere kissing in a tree. Yandere and Galamy sitting in a tree. Kissing. First comes love, then comes marriage, and then all of a sudden a bunch of bones would erupt from the ground, and it'd be like, then you just shut up and burn in hell. And then Gas Blaster would come out like, boom! And Galamy would just teleport in front of her and be like, see, I'm helpful. And Yandere would be like, even when it was before, I wasn't nearly that brutal, was I? Never mind. We just don't have to think about it, right? Just as long as nobody noticed. And Galamy's like, and if they did notice, we can just kill them, too, right? And, you know, Galamy would just be like, oh my. Like, Yonder and Galamy would just be there, and they would just be, you know, on their own separate beds. And that would probably be where I would end off this part. Because on Xena DOS, because Action Mavericks OET out here, you boys, bye.